All right, welcome everybody to the Mythic Table Town Hall. I am going to share my screen because I put together a little presentation. Let's see, I'll do that now. Okay, so this is the Mythic Table Town Hall for July of 2020. So what is a town hall? Well, a town hall for Mythic Table is just a monthly meeting that we're going to use to help us communicate. We're going to use this format to make announcements, to congratulate people, to welcome people to the team and things like that. I want this to be a regular occurrence that we do to give everybody a forum to ask questions and to get an idea of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. We're also going to record this. This is a live meeting, but if you miss it, we're going to throw it up on YouTube, and the community can watch this if they want. I don't know. We'll see. So the agenda for today's meeting is this. So first off, we're going to start with some announcements. Then I want to go through a round of kudos, which is just basically thanks and shout outs to members of the team. Then we're going to go through our progress, talk about where we are now. And then we're going to go through our plan. Basically, what are we going to try to do in the next month or two? Finally, we're going to end it with something that you guys can do to help out. And open up the floor so you guys can tell us anything that we can do to help you out and answer any questions. Okay, moving right into things. Let's start with the announcements. So first off, this is an announcement I've made a couple different times, but I want to make this announcement in the town hall as well. So Sarah is currently in the process of transitioning into a production role. And what this means is Sarah, for the most part, has been our community champion. She joined us in, I believe, November 2019 and has been a huge instrumental part of Mythic Table. Behind the scenes, she's been helping me out with a lot of my administration tasks and things that just kind of take time away from me. So this is fantastic that she is committing to doing this as like her actual job for Mythic Table. So that's fantastic. So number two is Nikki will be stepping in for a community champion while Sarah is transitioning. And finally, we have a bunch of new people joining the project. We have Ankit, Chaz, Paul, Nikita, Felipe, Wagner, Fabiano, Kelvin, Preethi, Gurinder, whose name I spelt wrong here, I think, John, and Yajin. So welcome all you guys, and thank you for joining us on this little adventure of ours. We're happy to have you. Okay, so kudos. Again, thanks to Sarah for all the hard work behind the scenes. It's been a great, weight off my shoulders, knowing that there's somebody there to pick up the slack when I'm missing things, organizing meetings, and basically taking care of a lot of our business side of things. So I'd also like to thank Jose and Ben, who've just recently come back from a little bit of a hiatus. Jose is I guess our primary DevOps engineer here. He's helped us put together quite a bit of our infrastructure, and moving forward, he's going to help us improve, stabilize, and secure that infrastructure. We're moving towards Terraform, which will help us be able to make deployments easier, safer, and more reliable. And Ben's been really doing a great job on the UI. He's come back with a vengeance. And he's picked up and started running with a lot of our UI things. And we have great hopes for what he's going to be able to do in the future. And then there's Ankit. So Ankit joined us about, a month or two ago when he jumped on the Discord channel to tell me about bugs that we have in our website. So over the next couple of weeks, I went through the process of recruiting him in, and now he's fixing all those bugs that he found. So Ankit is a super guy. He jumps in and does anything that we ask him to do. He is pretty much owning the entire Mythic Table website for us right now, which is a huge load off of my back and off of Sarah's as well, which is great. So thank you for that. So where are we? Well, so everybody knows we've been pushing towards first playable. I'm not sure if everybody fully understands how much progress we've been making in that area, but it has been pretty substantial. We've got the file store working. We've got a number of UI elements working, allowing us to put custom tokens on the map. And we're in the process of building custom maps as well. So previous to this, we had a game that we were streaming called Trouble Hunters. John Fisher was DMing, and we would use Mythic Table for this, but we only really had one map, and all the tokens were hard-coded in there. So he asked me to make a ton of tokens and throw them in the corner so he could just drag them out. But we don't have to do that anymore. Now anybody can create new tokens and drag them out onto the map. So that's great. We've been doing regular design meetings. These are fantastic. Mythic Table has always been, in my opinion, one of the biggest advantages is our ability to approach user experience really, really well. And making sure that we have design on board from day one is super important for us. So we have Tim and Adrian who are leading our design initiative right now, and these two are great. I love them to death. Not only are they organizing our design meetings and getting everything working there, our design meetings are starting to uncover procedural problems with our organization. Are we communicating well enough? How are we instructing people about how to work with our workflow and things like that? How do people know which tasks are important? So all these things are coming up in our design meetings, which was a surprise to me, but it's a very, very pleasant surprise. And finally, we've been doing some improvements to our website. These are looking great. The idea is that we need our website to be top-notch. When people look at it, they need to go, oh yeah, these guys are professional. No spelling mistakes, no grammar mistakes, which if any of you have seen any of my writing, you know it's just ripe with those kinds of problems. So we're putting a lot of effort into correcting that. So our plans moving forward are focus on Mythic Table as first playable. We got to get that done, get that out the door. Design is on board with this. We're all focused on doing the minimal possible to get somebody using the game for their own campaigns. So the idea being that you can pick up Mythic Table, play a game with your friends, and you have everything that you need in order to replace your tabletop. And finally, this one's a little bit new. I've spoken to Sarah and Mickey about this, but I don't think I've spoken to anybody else about it. We want to recruit an ethics champion for Mythic Table. So what is an ethics champion? So an ethics champion has a single responsibility. Their responsibility is helping the organization be a positive influence in the global community. And what that means as an ethics champion, they're not worried about features, they're not worried about social media posts, or they're not worried about our website or anything like that. The only thing that they're worried about is what Mythic Table is doing for the global community. And when I mean global community, I mean we have a community, a great community of very passionate role players. But it's kind of a small community compared to the world at large. And as an organization, as we get bigger and we get more and more influence, we feel that it's important that we are an influence for the better. So we want to take stands. We want to understand what's going on in the world. We want to understand how we impact that and how we can change that. And we basically want to put our money where our mouth is when we say this. And basically that means our ethics champion is going to be a member of the team whose responsibility it is to educate us, to keep their finger on the pulse, to help us improve, to handle communications and things like that. So that's what we're looking for. Sarah and Nikki are in the process of putting together a, well, sort of like a job posting. But I wanted to open this up to the team at large first to see if there was anybody interested in that role. You can do this role in addition to other roles at Mythic Table, but I would prefer it if the ethics champion were simply that. They had no other responsibilities except doing this one thing, ideally. So what can you do to help? Right now, we are looking at time being our biggest factor. If you take a look at our community reports, which we haven't really made public yet, our contribution reports, I should say, but you'll see that it's very difficult for our contributors to find time to work on Mythic Table. But where we do find time, we're doing a great job. It's fantastic, but it's just really hard for us to find time. So what can you do? Beg, borrow, steal time wherever you can. That's the big thing right now. I know when you guys sit down to do your work, it's going to be great. We just need to be able to sit down more often. So you can pitch in to help finish the first playable. That is one of the most important things that we're doing right now. We need designers, we need artists, we need programmers. You can pitch in to help with art and design. You can pitch in to help with the website. These are all really important things that we have on the go. And finally, if you're interested in doing more than this, Sarah and I need help, all kinds of help. We are currently overloaded with all the things that we need to do. So if you're interested in helping out in that capacity, then let us know. And we will bring you on board and you can see where you can fit in. All right, so what can we do to help you? At this point, I want to open up the floor to any suggestions or any questions, any comments or concerns or anything like that. Well, I'm going to have to ask you all not to speak at the same time.
Hey, just saying first, can anyone hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Hey, I'm Jose. First of all, thank you for the kudos, Mark. It really means a lot. I've only probably met Mark in video chat or voice chat. I haven't met anyone else, but it's nice to meet everyone else. I guess I have a question pertaining to the first playable. What is the timeline for that and how has it shifted since we began work on Mythic Table?
That's a really great question. So Mythic Table started in January of 2019 as kind of like a pipe dream. It was mostly an experiment in gathering interest around it and building a commercial pitch. In September of 2019, we realized that commercial pitch was going to fail and we opened it. From September of 2019 to December, we continued along the same path. We focused on building our community and developing interest around the project. And then we realized that in December of 2019 or January 2020, that without a product backing us up, getting that interest is going to be pretty hard. So we shifted, or I shifted anyway. I shifted from business development and community work to going back into technology, which is pretty much my background. So starting from December, without very much help or feedback, I built a plan that was very naive and not very well thought out. And I built it while I was making a monthly report to give you an idea of how long it took to build this thing. So that plan actually guided our development all the way up until about April, I would say. And the idea was sometime in end of May, early June, we'd release this first playable. But it had no design buy-in. It had no team buy-in. The stories were awful. I mean, anybody who's seen the original stories that was guiding the first playable, they would just roll their eyes. They were awful. So what we did is we kind of massaged this a little bit as we started pulling up stories and working on them. We planned them out a little bit better, but the result was we were kind of on target until we realized that one of our big pillars was user experience, and the first playable didn't have any consideration for user experience, not a single bit. So around the same time, we had Paul, Adrian, and Tim. Paul's not with us anymore, but Adrian and Tim are still here. And they were leading the charge on the design front. So at some point, we decided to kind of merge and get design on board with the first playable. The result was it moved our dates out a little bit, and we're currently targeting a August release for the first playable. And it's changed in that it was originally a June release for the first playable. But the differences between the two are going to be that the first playable is going to get a really great design pass. So we're going to pay really close attention to our onboarding user flow. We're going to pay attention to how to educate people on how to use the product. All of our usability concerns are going to be somewhat addressed. So there's going to be a lot of UI changes associated with this. Does that answer your question?
That does, thank you.
Cool. Cool. Any other questions? Any other concerns? Any other doubts?
One thing that I've noticed when mentioning Mythic to a lot of other gamers and DMs, they haven't ever heard of you.
Yes.
That seems to be the overriding thing. As soon as I explain what you're doing, it's very much a case of, that sounds awesome. Where can I find out more? At the moment, the site is quite sparse with detail. Obviously, there's only so much time to put into these things. But how are you currently addressing the issue of awareness? Because you might have August as the date for first playable. Great, that's pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
But if no one knows it's happening, that's a bit of an issue.
Yes.
Because if no one knows it's available, then no one's going to use it. And I'm assuming the goal is to get it out there as broadly as possible. So
That's
how
right.
are you dealing with that? And if possible, what can we do to help you with it?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking. So just to summarize the question, how are we going to deal with getting the exposure we need to the people that we need to get the exposure to in order for us to generate the interest in the project? So we don't know the answer to that. We know little bits and pieces, and we've got some strategies. But we are absolutely open for for new ideas. But let me tell you what our strategies are and what our bits and pieces are. So the very first thing that we want to do is we want to improve what we're calling, or what most organizations call a sales funnel. It's not a sales funnel for us, but what it is it's basically an interest funnel. When we take somebody who's heard the name Mythic Table, we want them to be able to go through a process of being able to understand who we are, what we're trying to do, how can they help us, and why would they want to help us. So we want to make that as clear as possible. So if we get one person to learn about Mythic Table, we have the best possible chance to make them a supporter of the project, whether that's a contributor or a financial supporter or someone who just runs around waving our flag. All three of those are critically important to us. So step number one is improving our funnel. And that's what Sarah, Ankit, Nikki, and everybody on the community side right now, they've basically paused almost everything that they're doing to focus on that work. The next thing is, how do we get exposure to almost 200,000 active online role players for free? That's going to be hard. So our strategies include our social platforms, which we're pretty active in. They include reaching out to media outlets and doing more interviews and explaining what we're doing, things like that. Reaching out to content creators and working out arrangements where Mythic Table can support them if they support us, and different things like that.
Can I make a suggestion with that?
Absolutely.
Business is my background. Business development, marketing, accounting. We've spoken before about my accounting background, but let's put the accounting on the side for the moment. The one thing that I honestly think is going to bring people into the fold, and you said there's over 200,000 online gamers of one form or another, be it Pathfinder, be it D&D, be it whatever. The one thing that's going to get their attention is ease. If they find out that it's easy to switch to using your service compared to what they're doing at the moment, they'll do it. And word will spread based on the ease of use. Now, I'm a big proponent, for example, of the D&D Beyond system. For the D&D side of things, for character building, for all that sort of thing, great. If you guys had a means to scrape their character sheets as a PDF directly into your system so that the players can say, okay, well, here's my PDF, you scrape it, it pulls the stuff I need off of it, bang, it's in there. Words cannot express how many people you would have jumping immediately in on the basis that it's a tabletop experience that they're not having to manually input every little bit and piece into, for example, Roll20, which is probably one of the biggest competitors you're going to be going up against. Because with them obviously being free, Fantasy Grounds being pay once, but at least there is still an investment up front for it. If you can just say, you're already using this service, you're already paying for the service, what you do with them is great. We will make it as easy as possible for all of you to use this. It'll start small, but it'll grow bloody quick.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, we have a number of hurdles. One of them, of course, being how do we build the product that people want and need, and the final one being how do we message that to people in a way that we can convince them that it's the product that they want and need, in a period of time that's shorter than their attention span. So yes, it's tricky. It's absolutely tricky. Yeah. Cool. That's great. That's a really good question. So Charles, I highly recommend that you engage with us on the design channel. And you and I should talk a little bit later about getting you more involved with the business side of things. I'd love to get you more involved.
Yeah, but gladly over to help. Recently made redundant, so time is available.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Well, not the redundancy bit being awesome, but the rest is.
Okay, so let's see. Any other questions before we wrap this up? Okay, so not a problem. If you have any questions or think of anything between now and next town hall, just message us on Slack and we will see what we can do. But I want to thank everybody for joining us and thank everybody for watching this video and making it all the way through to the end. And yeah, thanks for all your support. Mythic Table wouldn't be what it is today without it.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, thanks guys. Have a great one.
You too.
Thank you. Have a good one.